So glad you're here on today's Small Business Spotlight, where we unpack and uncover what it takes to get your business to the next level. My name is Ramon Ray, and this is Rocket Lawyer's Small Business Spotlight. Tell us your full name and the name of the business, and let's jump into what you do and who you serve.
All right. So I am Lesley Nickus. I'm the founder of Scary Plants Media, which is a content consulting and digital marketing agency. My background is in mainstream media. I was a journalist for 13 years. I worked in news, small business, not small businesses, small newsrooms. I guess same thing. Small newsroom, small business. We're all businesses.
That's right.
Small newsrooms, moved up to some midsize. And while I was in that space, I really learned about the value of community connection and people understanding, where you're coming from through storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And so storytelling, because of my background, is a really core component of how Scary Plants Media works with small business owners.
Mm-hmm.
Having also worked in enterprise marketing, companies, it can be very costly to market your business. It can be very expensive when you're looking, at what everybody else is doing. You're trying to keep up with the Joneses and you're like, I have to do all of this stuff. And one of my philosophies is that no, you don't have to do all of this stuff. What I like to do is work with a business owner in an initial consultation to understand, why did they create their business? Like, why are they doing what they're doing? How are they going to tell that story to the potential customers so that they're reaching the right people? Because it doesn't matter if you're reaching 1 million people, if they're the wrong people, you're wasting your resources. So Scary Plants Media was created to try and help small business owners navigate that content journey and kind of like put an end to some of the common misconceptions about content and digital marketing, that you have to have it all, that you have to activate all of these channels. That's not necessarily the case. And I think a lot of times, including myself, like I was a victim of comparison and, oh, I'm not doing all, like my face isn't on all of these things yet. I don't have the, and then it starts to feel like this really overwhelming, well, now I have to create all of this stuff and this isn't my forte and I don't like to be on camera and I'm not a good writer. And then all of this negative self-talk starts to come in. And it's not that complicated when you know what you're trying to convey to people and why you're showing up in your business, why you created your business. It all kind of comes down to, once all of the noise comes in, because it will, and it always does, realigning yourself with, who am I, what am I doing, why am I here, and how am I helping the people that I'm trying to serve? If you didn't create a business for an altruistic purpose, you're probably not my ideal client, because there is no core narrative that is driving. There's no mission driven purpose for your business. And not to say that those businesses aren't successful, but you don't really find that a lot in entrepreneurship and small business owners. They are really passionate about what they're doing. They started their business to do something that is really important to them. And so my objective is to try and use all of the experience that I have in interviewing and, content creation, media, and strategy, and pull that out so that people can understand, what is the messaging that we need? How do we need to show up and where do we need to show up to really meet the people where they are and show them why they need what we have.
How has Rocket Lawyer helped your business?
What it's done for my business has really enabled me to not have to worry about any of the contractual things. So Scary Plants Media works with clients that have content creation needs. One of the projects that I was working on when I first started the business was producing a documentary called Kind Conversations About Cannabis. And in order to compliantly produce that documentary, that meant I needed lots of contracts. So appearance releases, location releases, service agreements with vendors, whatever needed to be negotiated and documented. I signed up for Rocket Legal Plus because the cost of that annual subscription was far and away better as a small business owner than the cost that I would have incurred utilizing a lawyer to prepare all of those documents. And they're templates. You're just replacing a name and some key information. There's really no need to pay somebody $200 per document to go and create. With this particular project, I think I've generated maybe 40 appearance releases. And that, when you think of the math, there's no way that would have been feasible with a small budget and an indie film. So that was one of the main reasons that I started using Rocket Legal Plus. And then once I got into all of the different benefits that it offered, I found that in the other parts of my business where I'm exploring, new ventures and different business partnership structures and different types of, business agreements, that I could ask questions of a lawyer like, hey, this person sent me this contract that they'd like me to sign. It's a partnership agreement. Can you please let me know these areas that I might need to provide clarity or, potential pitfalls? And that was really a useful tool for me in making sure that my business is being protected and all of my assets as well are allocated
Yeah. Well, I love that. I
appropriately.
think business protection and assets are important. I think those are two things, Lesley, that are very important with it. I think you have the legal protection, just the obvious. Hey, Lesley, you and I have an agreement. Okay, Ramon, that's not what you said. That's what we said. It's on paper. Here we go. And I think the asset protection, you're right. Something goes wrong. You trip over the wire that I thought was done right, whatever the example would be. There's that protection. There are things we may not think of. So I think legal protection in general is good. And I like what you said also about Rocket Lawyer. And we can just go right, keep going into it. I think that it's interesting. You started with one way. So you knew you needed to be protected on the first project. That's not even a question. I'm doing indie films, dealing with cannabis, et cetera. I got to be protected. But then what I'm hearing you say is, hey, as I expanded it, there's other areas that, hey, I can leverage the Rocket Lawyer Legal Plus service to get more protection. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Started to look into different things that I could do with my business, different collaborations and different partnerships with other businesses and entities, and realized like, oh, there's many more services in that subscription than simply document creation. Like certainly document creation is the bulk of what I utilize it for, but being able to ask legal questions whenever I need to, being able to just like get the peace of mind of knowing that I am moving forward in a way that's not going to put additional liabilities on my business, then I need to be because I didn't, do the due diligence and ask the questions. And it's intimidating when you're thinking about, frankly, like reaching out to actual lawyers' offices or retaining legal counsel when you're basically a solopreneur working with contractors and, partnership agreements. There's a lot that could potentially go wrong. And I don't like to operate that way. I
Well, I
like to
think it's
minimize my risk.
yes, and you always don't know who to ask or what to ask. And I think a brand like Rocket, a lawyer, definitely can help. I'm curious, and I want to get into your business, Lesley, as well. But what would you say to your peers, to business owners out there who are like, A, either I don't need legal protection, and part of it you said already, but I don't need legal protection, or I'm really not sure where to turn to. Clearly, there's a solution here, but let's address the first part. I don't need legal protection. I'm kind of going to do it on my own. Email's enough. I typed it up. I think this is good enough. Any thoughts on that? What would you tell them?
In some ways that works. I think that there are certain circumstances where you're just trying things out, and maybe you don't need legal protection to share ideas. It really depends on how much you trust the people you're working with. But at the end of the day, once something becomes more than an idea, if you don't protect it, you can have it taken from you. And I actually saw that happen to people. And I've been my background is in mainstream media and news production, and then I moved into marketing at enterprise companies. I've seen what happens at the very, very top levels of of operations
Yeah.
when those checks are not in place. And I don't, it sounds alarmist sometimes. I think people, you need legal protection. You absolutely do. Because if you intend to grow your ideas, if you want to make them become bigger than just the things that you're thinking about, at some point somebody is going to, just put it bluntly, like they're going to clock you and they're going to try and steal your stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
And
they're going
yeah,
to try and imitate in a way that causes damage to your bottom line, and you need to protect that. And it can be costly to do that and intimidating to do that.
yeah.
But if this is something that you're going to really commit yourself to, and you're going to put all of your effort into it, and you're going to try and, like we were talking about earlier, place yourself in the center of your business growth, all of that does need to be protected by the right type of contracts, the right type of clarity. Yes, you can use an email to say, hey, because in production we have had to do that in the past where somebody just is not signing their appearance release, and it's like, look, we have this email that says they agreed to appear in the film. In some cases, yes, you can defend that,
But you were
but
crossing
you
your
still
fingers
have to,
probably like,
yes,
oh,
and
I
you
wish
still
I had
have
a
to
better.
pay the lawyer
Yeah.
to defend that. You still have to pay for that representation to make, to prove
Yes.
that you're doing what you said you were going to do. Whereas if you were to really like push hard and sign and get that appearance release or get that contract signed, it's there.
Yeah.
You have it. Everybody knows what's going on. And, I don't like to operate like people are going to be shady all the time. But when it comes down to, is this something that I want to see be successful and be continuing to grow and build and develop and exist, 5, 10 years from now? I can't put my faith on a napkin or an email.
And somebody said this, you were talking to some other amazing Rocket Lawyer customers. And again, I love it that you're using Rocket Lawyer Legal Plus. I think about how big is your dream? Is your dream big enough? Is it worth it enough? Is it important to you enough to protect it? Whether it's a $500,000 business, $10 million dream, whatever it is it worth it for contextually a small annual or monthly fee, especially what Rocket Lawyer provides to protect that. And I think feel the sense of security, which sounds like for me that you're talking about, Lesley. Can you give me for example, what are one of your two favorite clients? We'll make sure none of your clients hear this when you call it their name. No, you don't need to say the name, but give us just a for example. I have a client who does X and they were like this and we help them do this. You can even make it up, but just give me a scenario of one or two different types of clients. You may say, Ramon, here's what we do. And I love what you shared. You don't have to do it all. I love that even myself as one of your marketing brethren, been in this space. We've all read Gary Vee and the books and all this. You think, oh, I got it. And it's just, but I'm glad everybody hearing
It
it,
can be
take a breath of fresh air.
overwhelming.
Yes, yes,
But
indeed.
also, just to speak very quickly to the point
Please.
of Gary Vee,
Yeah,
because he did help motivate me to get started.
me as well.
The message that I take away, I'm impressed constantly by how frequently and how much. And, the message that I take away mainly from him is that you need to just do it. You have to put yourself out there. You need to just take that step, like get outside of your own head and do the thing. And the way that he has done that and the way that he is motivated is by being everywhere all the time, constantly. And when you're comparing yourself to someone like that who is extremely successful in doing that type of work, when that's not your forte, that's really intimidating. It's really intimidating.
Yeah, no, for sure it is. So give us for example, give us a level and maybe use that as a lesson learned. Hey, and here's what we did and here's what people listening to us can learn from that too, maybe something like that.
So one example that I have of, I think probably the best example that I can think of right now is a client that I had who was starting a personal coaching business
Okay.
and had a lot of ideas because of everything that she was seeing, a lot of ideas of how she felt she needed to show up and the things that needed to happen. And, here, I want to have a thought leadership content calendar. I want to be posting on social media 2 to 3 times a week. And I want to be creating, ebooks and all of the things. And when you watch these content marketing videos, like how do you can market your business? Like, yes, all of the 1 through 5 steps that everybody tells you need to do. And that's true that you do eventually need to do all of those things, but you don't have to do them all at once. So what was interesting when I started working with her is I developed a content plan with her and showed her, here is everything you need to create in order to present digitally the way that you want to. And when that laundry list grew and grew and grew, because all of the ideas required a lot of, content and execution and time investment, she started to see that the marketing objectives that she had set for herself, the vision that she had for how she would market her business, is going to significantly eat into the time that she actually had to service her clients. And so helping people to understand that, yes, there is a time where everything needs to be active, but when you're first starting out, it doesn't always have to be that. And I found that really just going through talking through people's big ideas and breaking them down into, here's all of the things you need to do to realize that dream so that they can see how long that roadmap actually looks. And then they start to pare back and say, okay, on their own, they start to identify areas where you can, pull back. I don't have to be the one that says, hey, you're doing too much. All I need to do is say, here's what you want to do looks like in a roadmap or in a project plan. Do you have the bandwidth, resources, capability, interest to do all of that? Usually the answer is no. And then we get to what are the most important things to you? What are the things that you were really, really interested in? You start to dial back and get to the nuggets of, what can somebody do either on their own or with a small team that still makes an impact and works toward the goal of their big grand vision.
I think that is so smart. I think that is so smart. People talk about eat the elephant a little bit at a time. What a weird example we keep saying, but there's applicable to it. Now, there's applicable to it that you can, and I would say, what I'm hearing you say is you can do all the things just step by step by step and part of a plan, not
Yes.
all the things in 30 days, maybe all the things in 20 years. Dave Ramsey says, I'm the, I'm the overnight 30-year success, something like that. He says, so it seems like you can. Another thing I'm picking up, Lesley, is that in the same way you've used Rocket Lawyer, kind of outsourced your legal protection. They're the experts. I can call upon them, text them, DM them, whatever it is. I can reach them in the online systems. I get the templates and all that they have. I feel safe and secure. Sounds like marketing as well. That for small business owners, even larger ones, we can rely on agencies like yours for marketing needs. You focus on what you do and let somebody else do what they do. Is that any analogy
Yes.
there that I'm trying to put together there?
Yes. And in a perfect world, all of the consulting, conversations that I have help people understand that there are services that I can offer that would take that off their plates if
Mm,
that's something that they're interested in or something that they have the resources to invest in. If in the absence of that, here are the things that you can do on your own until you're ready to, invest in more marketing, invest in people to help you do some of these other things. And when you're ready for that, I'm here
yeah.
and available to, either do the work myself or connect you to my network or, help your business grow because I am invested. Every conversation that I have with a business owner, I'm invested in their outcomes, whether we continue to work together or not. So yes,
I love it.
it's all in an effort to help people understand what they can do on their own and help people like the Rocket Lawyer example understand where it's better to just outsource to somebody who can do it faster, cheaper, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And for me, sure, as a journalist, I can read legal documents, I can create and craft legal documents. Yes, I can do that. But that's going to take me hours. Rocket Lawyer is not going to take hours for, it's because significantly shortens the amount of time that I spend doing things that I'm just not an expert in.
And it's the best use of your time either. The best use of your time is leveraging your communication background and other things you bring to the table. I'm guessing to serve your
Exactly.
clients better. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't, in the same way that I help people see that like some of the content dreams and objectives and the comparisons, aren't necessarily applicable to that specific point of their business growth. Oh, I lost my point.
That's okay. I got it. As people who come to you for their big ideas, you're able to be there for their big ideas and dreams and get them to the point. I knew exactly where you're going and what
Thank
you were
you.
saying. You're welcome.
Like,
Curious,
man, I
what's
started
the
to talk about people. I got
I love it, Lesley. Again, we're talking to Lesley Nickus, right?
I guess.
Lesley Nickus. And Lesley, tell us the name of your company again and your website and domain, how we can reach you. I have a few more questions, but right here, let's pause and give some more props to Lesley.
Sure. Scary Plants Media is the name of the business, and the website is scaryplantsmedia.com.
Love it.
I mentioned earlier that I was, just to do a really quick plug,
Please,
mentioned
please.
earlier that one of my projects was a documentary. You can see kind conversations about cannabis at scaryplants.com.
Thank you so much. I love it. Of course, it has scary in it.
Of course.
Um, of course. Lesley, I'm curious, what is one thing that you can, as you think about your experience and working with business owners, that you say, Ramon, here's two or three simple things that they can know. And you said one, you don't have to do it all. But anything else you're saying, man, if they could just do this, they'd be farther along even the road, whether they work with you or not, if that makes sense. Just here's some common things I'm seeing that, man, all of them are doing wrong. Or maybe you want to reword it and say, here's two or three things that make a successful business in general. So take it wherever you want, in business in general or marketing.
Sure. So there is something that I hear a lot when I talk to small business owners, and it is, I'm not a writer. I can't
Mm,
write. And one of the things that I think is extremely important and something that I hope that people will take away from this is you're writing all the time.
mhm.
You write text messages, you write emails, you communicate with people at the grocery store. And so that mindset is really holding you back because what you're doing is saying, I'm not a writer, I can't write. And you're ignoring all of the day to day opportunities that you actually do write, that you actually do communicate. Good content is about communicating a specific message. And you actually do that as a business owner all day, every day. So the the limiting belief that you're not a good writer or you don't know how to do the thing holds so many people back from just getting the message out. And I spent a lot of time on a copy desk evaluating whether something was written well or
Wow.
proper grammar and syntax and all of these really nitpicky things that I think prevent people from feeling like they can write or can create content or can make a video about this thing I know a lot about. People have this idea in their mind that they can't, but they don't understand or acknowledge that they actually do. They do all the time. So the one thing that I think would be really helpful for folks to kind of just shift that limiting belief to, not that I can't write, that I don't write the way that I would like to yet, or something else, just shifting it a little bit, because the reality is that every single person who does anything on the internet writes.
Yeah, for sure.
When you write a complaint to a business because you didn't like the product, you're writing, you're already doing the thing. So that's, I would say, I guess, like one piece of advice:
I love
stop
it.
limiting yourself and acknowledge that you're writing all the time.
I love
You're
it.
communicating all the time.
And that's the power of the word yet. I saw that somewhere. I'm sure it's been said, billion times over the last years, but the power of yet. I can't do it. I can't swim. I can't write. I'm not a good cook. I can't do this. Comma, yet changes everything. If you choose to embrace the Lesley and Ramon Ray mantra of the day.
Yes,
For you.
shift it. Shift that limiting belief. Get it out.
Yes, I love that. Lesley, one or two more questions for you. Going back to the Rocket Lawyer experience you've had, we've already talked about those business owners who don't feel they need to have legal protection, et cetera. When you think about the experience and what it's been like working with Rocket Lawyer, how has that been for you? When people are saying, hey, there's a lawyer, I have my local lawyer, whatever it may be, and they're thinking of an online service, Rocket Lawyer, using their service, has that been smooth for you? Has that been good for you? Has the customer service been good for you? Things like that, where you're saying, hey, I've used Rocket Lawyer and I'm pretty darn happy, or maybe it'll surprise me and say you're not, but I'm curious what you'd say, Lesley.
No, I'm very happy with it. The customer service has been really smooth. I haven't really had a need to connect with customer service for any
Good.
type of troubleshooting, mostly just questions
Mm-hmm.
about, like, is this the right thing?
Mm-hmm.
Is this the right, document type or whatever the case may be. But it's really seamless.
Good. So
I,
it's
I don't
like
have a
turning on
lot.
water.
I don't have a lot because I don't have friction with
Yeah.
them. I don't have any bad experiences to really speak to.
Yeah. That's how it should be. It's like using an appliance like Uber, right? There should be nothing to do. You get in, use it, and you're good. So that's a mark of distinction. But
Yeah.
Lesley Nickus, I love this so much. Thank you for being here with us. One more time, I know I asked you already, but I like to ask people many times, give us the name of your website, who you serve, and what kind of people you want to reach out to you.
Scary Plants Media is a content consulting and digital marketing agency. We serve small business owners who are looking to grow their business through content marketing and digital marketing efforts.
Love it.
And that is
I
it.
love it. And my name is Ramon Ray. This is The Rundown with Ramon, brought to you by Rocket Lawyer.